Hello, everybody. It's an international break, but there is no rest for the wicked. We are with you again. Let's have a look at our blank game week scores and how our mini league is shaping up. All coming up.
What's up, team? Welcome to another episode of Two Friends. It's been a hot minute. We've had some blank game weeks. We've had an international break. We're close to EPL being back. Sam, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, buddy. I'm a bit. I'm looking forward to the football coming back. We've been a bit starved. I think I haven't really kept up with much of the international break stuff. Got some FA Cup action this week. I think we've got 4 games coming up, and then midweek games next week. Back into it. I think it's all go to the end of the season, mate.
Oh, I can't wait. You know, the weeks where there's international breaks, I don't know, it just feels like something's missing from life. And that something is EPL, specifically Fantasy Premier League, because that's all that matters, right? Now, you, my friend, have been on a tear. You've had some really good weeks. I mean, credit given where credit's due, hats off. You have made some great calls. So let's do a bit of a review of how our game weeks went.
I feel at this point I have to put a little disclaimer in and apologise and say that I should get a new career as a gymnast because I made some big backflips on some statements that I made last week.
Mate, if I didn't know better, I think there was a bit of sabotage involved. I think there's a bit of sabotage, a bit of tactical espionage, a bit of, oh no, don't get this player. I'll get him instead and captain him.
All right. Well, look. Let me bring my team up then. If we're gonna talk about espionage, let's get it up. Where are we? Here you go. So, game week 29, blank game week.
Oh, look at that score.
Let's get it straight out of the way, shall we? The espionage in question. I advised you that maybe getting Fernandes was probably not the best idea. Very late in the game week, I decided that it was a good option to wildcard into 31, which left me with being able to dead end the team into 29, take some risks on some players that I wouldn't normally take risks on. One of those became Fernandes. So uh, from the back, Sales with 1. I brought in Dallo as well, who got 11 points with an assist in there. Kirkes with 4. Gabriel with 5, and Boomer with 6, Neto with 1, Dango with substitute appearance with 1. I did bring in Fernandes for a 34-pointer as my captain. Palmer did not play with 0. Wisser 8. Haaland with 7 also came in. No one on the bench to come on. Munoz, Isak, and Hall all sat it out, and Fabianski didn't play with 0. So, yeah, 3 changes made for me for that week in the end. Trent out for Dallo. I had Salah out for Fernandes, and I had Mateta, who was injured, out for Haaland. So left me with so -4, 78, made about 20 points on the game week in the end. So, all in all, good game week. But yeah, there's a little bit of guilt in there from my comments. But yeah, changing the tact and having a look at the going for the wild card instead out of the international break, that get left me open to do that stuff. And I think I would still stick to those guns and say if you were not looking at wild carding out, Fernandes, Dallo, those are not good options. They were 1 week kind of punt options for me. Yeah, and I went there. So yeah, a little bit of guilt, but it's good to come out with a good score for the week.
Yeah, a solid score, and Dallo was especially a good punt for sure. So this
It
is
was
me.
a bit frustrating though, taking a -4 to bring in 3 players to play 11 to have Palmer then not start. So I still only had 10.
Yeah, Palmer. Yeah, Palmer. I don't know. I think most people are over him, but then who do you bring in, right? Fernandez. But yeah, uh, I ended the game week with 46 points. I actually forgot to update my captain, which is quite annoying. I brought in Haaland. I didn't captain Haaland. Why would I bring him in and not captain him? So which cost me 10 points, which is quite Was it 10 point? No, no, no. So 7 point swing. Yes, no, no, not quite 10 points, but still, it's like quite annoying. But anyway, I had Sells in the back for one, Robinson with seven, Hoyson with one, Vardio with one. Man City's Man City's result against Brighton, it could have been better. Milenkovic with 11, which that was a uh, really good option. Bowen with five, Matoma with one, Burmo with six, Cliver with two, Wood with my captaincy armband for four, and Haaland with seven. And no one on my bench played. So that gave me 46 points with a -4. Did four transfers, and I'm down to 140,000 overall rank. So I slipped about 20k places. So I didn't actually lose too many places from 120, only 20,000 places. So yeah, I think I got away lucky there, having not made too much of a slip.
Mm. Yeah, and look, like I jumped quite significantly this week. So I'm up to 410,000 in the end, which is I think it's the highest I've ever been. So, what has started as a pretty awful season, um, some small calculated moves, and it turns around. So I think I can hear what everyone is screaming at home, and that is, well, what does that leave the league looking like? What does that leave the league looking like? So we can see that's another win for me. It's back on trend. So it pulls the gap back to 6 points with what is that? 9 game weeks to go.
We still have 9 game weeks to go.
Still 9 weeks to game weeks to go, and there's a good couple of double game weeks in there as well. So there's plenty to go for. So I think so. So what have we got? We're chip wise. Are we both down assistant manager chip now?
Yeah.
Yep. Both have a wild card to play, and yeah, I've got a triple captain and a bench boost, and you've just got a bench boost
Correct. And both have a free hit.
and a free hit. Yeah. So interesting, and I think so. We're triple captain, bench boost, free hit, wildcard, 4 chips, 9 game weeks. It's the options are there. It's just going to be a bit touch and go, and if we can keep making the good decisions again, hopefully we'll starting to look up the table. But it's you got to play it well, and how do you play it? Like, what's your strategy from here? Are you going to be bit more defensive in your moves and kind of hold rank and see where you go, or are you going to rip the cap off and really go for it?
I don't think I'm going to be taking too many big risks. Because my rank of 140k, I'm actually hit my or easily surpassed my goal of what I was really aiming for at the beginning of the season. So I'm pretty happy with if I end the season at 140, I'd be stoked. I would like to aim for 100k, but I don't think I need to make any big moves to go above 100k. Realistically, it just means that some people might make some. I think with enough people making bad moves, I can just naturally go play it safe and be in the top 100k. Okay.
Yeah,
And we're at the pointy end where Liverpool is out of the Champions League, right?
correct.
So the Premier League is what they're really playing for now.
As they're out the FA Cup as well.
Yeah. Um, Salah, you would think, would keep playing because if they still had Champions League, and they had the Premier League in the bag, then you'd think that okay, there's more rotation. But with this all there is, Salah's going to keep playing. Haaland, Man City has an amazing run of fixtures, which means having both Salah and Haaland is now something which people are trying to fit back in. So I think towards this end of the season, I'm on about 108.7 total team value and cash in the bank. So this is the time of the season where I can flex the budget and just be like, cool, I can have Salah and Haaland and splash out on a few other players as well. So I'm going to play it safe, but I'm also going to just start maxing the budget. Now, that's predicated on Haaland performing. Let's see how that actually goes.
Yeah. So a bit differently, well, not a bit differently, but minorly differently to you. I think my strategy is going to be like I've made some calls that are probably called, you could probably go differential, bringing Fernandez in for Salah, and I think they go there. And I think that strategy has worked well so far. It's got me to where I am. So I think some small, risking players a week early, getting rid of them a week early for someone who's got a better fixture, I think is probably the risk level that I'm going to go for. I'm not going to sit there with 3 United, 3 Forest, uh, 3 Villa players in my team because that's not what we're looking for. But I think I'm going to start building my wildcard team around those players that I think are going to be playing for something and still in the team. I'm kind of sure isn't the right word, but I would expect and predict that probably Madrid might get past Arsenal in the Champions League, and that means we've got Arsenal sitting in the League Cup. So that's kind of influencing my decisions a little bit. I've always, the last few seasons, City go on a tear in the last few weeks of the season. I expect them to really want to show that they are still a team to follow. So I'd expect them to do something back half of the season. And it's getting tricky for teams like Bournemouth and Forest, who've been good all season, and they're hitting a bit of some difficulty. So, hoping that they can push through, and those options are still good options for us going forward, and really trying to knuckle down and pick some of those people who maybe other people wouldn't pick. So, one of those kind of people, for example, if you're wildcarding this week, you might bring Anthony Gordon in. He's still got a game suspension to go, but he's going to get overlooked by a lot of people. And a lot of people will be playing a wildcard this week. So if you can afford to bring him in and not have him play this week, it might be a worthwhile move. That's the kind of level I'm talking about. Bringing someone in, keeping a Palmer or a Robinson, who are both yellow flags, because we never know what's going to happen after an international break. We know Palmer, Gravenberch didn't go over the national teams, even though they were both picked. Are they international break injuries or are they actual injuries? Trent didn't go, came off against PSG, didn't go to the internationals with England. Is he injured? Is he not? Contracts, Salah, we keep talking about it. It's the Salah, the Van Dijk, the Trent issues. Well, you think maybe Trent's gone. Will he play again for Liverpool if he's got an injury? You probably expect to, because he's played there for quite a while, but he's probably not going to be a huge factor. If Liverpool get the title wrapped up in the next few weeks, I said it last time we spoke. The last time Liverpool won the league, they won with 8 weeks to go, and they got beaten twice in the last 6 weeks and didn't score against one. So it's very hard to pick, but you could be betting on some teams to beat Liverpool, betting on some teams to beat Arsenal if they're going to put all their chips into beating Real Madrid. So it's a bit tricky, but looking forward to it.
So, who are those teams that still have something to play for? Because I would have thought the likes of Forest would be trying to secure a Champions League spot, right?
And they're the teams I probably will be investing in towards those latter few weeks. The Bournemouth and Forest, who haven't had not international. They haven't had Champions League European football for a long time, so they're going to want that back. Teams like United, who are going to try and dash up the table a little bit to try and score something, I think they're probably a bit past it. But looking at any of those teams from Newcastle down to even to Brentford, any of those teams are going to have some good fixtures. They're going to have some good results, hoping to put together. So, maybe you can even include Palace and United into that. Like, Palace have been good. I think they've been the third best team since the new year. So, yeah, those kind of teams. Chelsea, if they can still put something together, but if they are looking like they're not going to win that Champions League team, maybe they put their forces into the Europa League Cup stuff. So, yeah, it's hard, but I think we're, early in the season we were looking at those differentials from Wolves and Ipswich and West Ham. For me, they're gone now. There's not enough there. Like, yes, they're fighting to stay in the league, but look at that gap between Wolves and Ipswich. There's 9 points there. Between West Ham and Ipswich, there's what 13. So you'd expect maybe that bottom four is probably the relegation candidates, and before too long, I expect that to be a bottom three, and we know who's going down. So yeah, that leaves you with few teams. And what risks do you take? Do you go with your safe bets like your Gabriels and that kind of stuff, or do you take a risk on a Minter, a Robinson, a Watkins? I think that's really going to define how the season ends and how we place when it's all said and done.
So I was going to say for those watching at home, but realistically, this is for me. Who end up in the Champions League?
Liverpool and Arsenal. Um, I I would say Man City.
Sorry, what rank?
Oh,
Like, what's the qualifying requirement? Is it third
oh,
place?
sorry. So the top three get into the group stage of the Champions League. Fourth place gets into the third qualifying round, I believe. Still, fifth place gets Europa League, and then the winner of the Carabao Cup gets the one underneath that, and the winner of the FA Cup gets a Europa League place as well. If the winner of the Europa League or the Carabao Cup already have a better European place, that place goes to next in the table. So Newcastle won the Carabao Cup, so they are going to play in Europe at some point regardless. So they will take the lowest one. So that's the whatever that league is called. I always forget it. Unless they finish in a place where they would then earn a Europa League spot, and then that spot will drop into the table. So, FA Cup spots, there's quite a few teams in there from lower down. Villa, Fulham, they're all still in there. So if they say Villa finish ninth where they are and they win the FA Cup, they will still go into the Europa League even though they finished ninth.
Mm.
The other ways you can get through is if you win the Champions League, you automatically get entry into the Champions League the year after. So if City finish fifth and they win the Champions League, they will still get into the Champions League and their spot drops down the table to Newcastle. If a team wins the Europa League, they also get a Champions League spot the next year. So you could be looking at top four getting Champions League, Man City finishing fifth, winning the Champions League and getting Champions League, and then a team lower down in the Europa League winning that and also getting into the Champions League.
So if we look at this then, who are the teams that actually have something to play for in the Premier League? Like, just from what you're telling me just now, it seems like really maybe Brentford is like a maybe, but really it's from Bournemouth up. Because
Yeah,
surely these guys are too far away to try and get into the top five.
yeah, but I mean, if you say Palace happen to win their game in hand that they've got there, that's 42 points. That puts them back in that mix as well.
That's
Um,
true.
But yeah, I'd say Bournemouth up probably with a consistency in that going through. So I think Bournemouth, Villa, Fulham are all still in the FA Cup. So they might focus on that a little bit because this is the year to win it because a lot of the big boys are now out of that cup. So there's only City really in there. I think it's in the 8 teams remaining. City are the only team to have won it in the recent future. All the other teams are looking to break trophy droughts of like numerous years. So that kind of tells you what teams are left. You've got Preston from the Championship still in there playing Villa this round. So there's a good opportunity for those teams to win that and get European football. So maybe, that's 3 games that they have to win to get European football as opposed to 9. So, maybe they put a bit of preference onto there. So does that mean teams like Brighton, Brentford, focusing on the league, are they the players that we want to pick because they only have the league now to go? Maybe.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So you're right. Crystal Palace have one game in hand. So really, I'd be staying away from anyone from Crystal Palace, no, anyone from Man United down. I'm not. I mean, I think Fernandes will still do really well, to be honest, after his tougher run of fixtures. But realistically, relegation, like you said, there's 9 points between Ipswich and Wolves. So if anyone, Wolves would be the one who would have something to play for. in terms of not being relegated. But West Ham, I think, there's enough like West Ham, for example, there's enough of a gap between relegation, but then too much of a gap to play for anything meaningful.
Yeah. And if West Ham were to go down, they'd go down with one of the highest points ever to go down. So, that says something. The only exception, and I can't believe I'm going to say it, the only exception for me in this table would be Spurs. They have had double figure injuries this entire season. If they can clear their squad and get some decent players into that team, I wouldn't be opposed to putting a Solanke in or maybe a Madison. If they can get some fitness, they are going to want to show that this season was an injury season, and that's why they're this low. I would want to see a couple of good fixtures before I go taking a chance. But, for the last 4 or 5 games, if they want to hurdle themselves from that spot up to like 8th or ninth, there could be some options there.
Yeah, I hear you. And Spurs have been disappointing this season. I would want to. You know how sometimes you would take a punt on people and players and a team beforehand? Spurs, I would want to see some form.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, this has been in line with what I was thinking, and we'll do another video on what our game week our teams will look like. But really, I'm starting to load up on Crystal Palace players, Newcastle players. Gordon, I'll wait for his ban to be done, and looking to keep a bunch of my Bournemouth players. Yeah, so it's like bringing the likes of Mateta, Ismail Sarr. I've already got Munoz for Crystal Palace because they've got the 32 double game week, and they may potentially have a 33 double game week depending on how all the results fall
Yep.
out. And they've got some pretty good fixtures coming up. So going hard on Crystal Palace players may not be a bad idea earlier rather than later. But we'll cover that in another game week, in another video.
Yeah. Uh, and a little spoiler alert for next week. I have not pressed the wildcard button yet.
Is this going to be one of those times where you're an acrobat again?
Look, it hasn't been pressed yet because I wanted to see what the international fixtures did. We saw no Trent. We saw no Palmer. We've seen Wood pick up an injury. We've seen Gordon pick up an injury. Saka's still not back. It's a good idea to play the wild card now. If you can get through the next game week, it might be a better idea to see who actually comes back into teams. But waiting on press conferences, waiting on FA Cups, does Mateta start? Like who's playing in those FA Cup games? Watkins came off after 45 minutes in the first England game, missed the second one. Is he going to be back and firing? Like, it might be an idea just to hold fire for one game week just to see. You don't want to play a wild card, get all these people in, and then suddenly have 5 flags. So I haven't pressed it yet. I'm leaning towards pressing it, but we don't know. We'll chat about that next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.